Flickcast, the podcast about movies, TV, pop culture, and pretty much anything else. I'm Chris Ulrich, and joining me, of course, my esteemed co-host, Joe Dilworth. Joe, how are you, man?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. So I got some feedback about last time's episode. Gosh, it's already starting well. And
Wow.
It said that we talked about the COVID and the pandemic a little too
Oh,
much. Maybe.
don't talk about it. We're not going to talk about it this week.
Well, yeah, okay. It's still
I'm kidding.
There hasn't been a miracle cure yet, and it's still going
No.
on. So we just have to, we'll definitely not mention it as much. I understand that people are, like we had the disclaimer at the beginning of the episode. We had to say, we're going to talk about it a little bit, but now we're not going to. So I am going to ask though, Joe, how are you?
I am well. I am healthy. I am happy and safe. So
That is
how are
good.
you?
I am the same. Here's a quick anecdote, or not anecdote, a quick story. So I was out today. I left the house. I know, crazy. And I had to go get gas because the car needed gas. And when I was there, I got out of the car and I was like, for a moment, I forgot what to do. Because I could not recall
Yes.
the last time I put gas in the car, first of all. And second of all, I was like, wait a second. Oh, I forgot to open the gas cap. And that was the problem. So anyway.
I will say this, and it'll be the last thing I say about COVID until the next time I say anything about it. But
Of course.
I won't go into details and bore people with it. But as it happened yesterday, as we record this, my oldest son had to get a COVID test. Totally precautionary. No worries in that regard. We're pretty sure it's going to come back negative. But I can tell you this, having witnessed the test for it, I really don't want to get it because, wow, that's not fun. But anyway, don't. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that because I'll discourage people from getting it. It's lovely. You should get one.
Get two.
It's awesome. Yes, get two. In fact,
get
have one
several.
every day.
Have one
Have
in
one
each
every day.
each. That's funny because you must have the ones that get the thing up the nose, right? And
Yes,
we have that here
yes.
too in Austin. But in California, I was hearing from people that you can just go get it like swabbed in your cheek instead. So
See,
you don't
now
have to
that
get
would
the
be cool.
Yeah, you don't have to do the whole invasive cranial exam with the straw up your nose.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go. See, so do your research, but if you feel you need to get it, go get the test. Anyway.
Exactly.
So,
Okay. So no more pandemic talk.
yes. Let's go on to
Like-
sunnier and brighter things now.
Like you said, yeah, sunnier and brighter, like DC Fandom.
Yes, that was. Although I did read a review that said it was more of a funeral than a celebration. But
Oh my goodness!
people just
Wow.
like being jerks, I guess.
I think you can never please anyone. It sounds like to me.
No, but we should definitely we should talk about it because I don't know about you, but I saw a lot of cool things coming out of that. But
I did
that
too,
should
and I think it's
interest
worth mentioning. The thing that was great that I found amazing almost about it was that I haven't seen like real trailers in a long time. It seems like.
me. Right,
And
I
I was
know
like,
exactly.
Wow, I'm actually watching something that might come out someday soon. I was very excited, and I got to say that some of this stuff was pretty good. I'm still.
Yeah.
We'll get to the Zack Snyder stuff in a second. I'm
Sure.
a little on the fence about that, to be honest, but I really, really enjoyed Robert Pattinson. I thought that the Batman trailer
Dude.
was good. It looked good.
That was, to me, I thought that was outstanding. I'll be honest, I wasn't really worried too much about him playing Bruce Wayne / Batman because
Me either. Yeah.
I find him to be a pretty, really good actor, to be honest. And I've seen him in many things outside of the Twilight stuff. And even in that, I thought he was the better part of the pairing of the two leads. But no, I was okay with him being cast, and yeah, I think after seeing the trailer that I'm even more energized to see that film as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was very atmospheric. It was very, is it supposed to be like Batman Year 2 kind of thing? 'Cause
Yes.
He's still relatively
Yes.
young, right? And so,
Yes.
but I love the fact that it looks like he's actually being a detective, which I know was always a pet peeve of yours.
Yes,
You
that
wanted Batman
was
to be the world's
thank
greatest
you.
detective, and now it looks like he is. I mean, I also like that they've kind of went a different way with Commissioner Gordon, and I like Jeffrey Wright, so I think it's great. I'd like to see him in all the
absolutely.
things. He would be cool.
Yes.
I want to see him and Idris Elba in a movie together, but that's another story.
That would be a fun buddy cop movie.
It would be or whatever. So it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be a cop movie. I don't know if they're going to make any cop
True,
movies
true.
anymore right now, or for a while probably, but
Yeah, maybe not.
maybe not. But yeah, I was not. You know what? I expected it to be good because Matt Reeves is quite good, and I expected it to be. I didn't have any problems with Pattinson. I knew that he was going to be fine, but it was
Yes.
really exceeded my expectations. So very
Well, yeah.
excited
So
about
from
that.
what I
Hopefully, it'll come
understand,
out someday.
yeah, from what I understand, this is definitely supposed to be like Batman in his second year. He's still pretty new at it, but we're not going to dwell too much on his origin. But it's also not a seasoned Batman that the criminals are in fear of just yet. So I kind of like that. I mean, that's been explored a lot in the comics, but I don't feel even with Batman Begins, I don't feel that was explored in a interesting way yet in the films. So I'm on board with that. Much like I enjoyed, and we can talk about this too. Surprise return in a few minutes, but this in the same way that I liked Affleck's kind of older, jaded, needing to be reminded of being a hero Batman
Yeah,
in
definitely.
the Zack Snyder films. I think that this will be a good fresh approach. Like you said, I like how it looks, and I like the way it's the tone of it. And from what I understand too, we're also going to get like Catwoman and some of the other Penguin and things like that before they become villains, and kind of see how they seg into that or move into that. So
Well, yeah, you saw Selena
know,
Kyle, right? The cat burglar, and
yeah,
and that's Zoe Kravitz, right?
yep,
And then Colin Farrell is the Penguin or Oswald
cool,
Cobblepot, right? So
unrecognizable, but
unrecognizable. Well, that's got to be a suit, right? Because I just saw him in another movie
oh yeah,
like 2 days before that. Because that's how movies work, right?
yeah, exactly.
Or
The
something.
magic of
It's the
movies.
magic of movies. Yeah, that's all like a suit or something. But yeah, he looked great, and I mean, it's going to be cool. And you're like, oh, another Batman movie, really? I just saw one, and I just saw one, and I just saw one. I feel like I've seen a
Right.
lot of Batman movies in the last 10 years, and also a lot of Spider-Man movies, if I'm being honest.
Sure.
But it's I'm down. I'm in. You know,
Yeah.
I'm in. Just give it to me now. But unfortunately, it's not even finished, I guess, and we're not going to get it till what, October of 2021, which hopefully
Yes.
this
Yes.
thing that shall not be named will be over by then.
Yeah, because we talked a little bit about it last week or last episode, or I see. I don't even know how to tell time
Well,
anymore
time
because
is
of things are
relative at
going.
this point.
I know,
The last
but
time we got together to talk about stuff.
on the previous time we talked, we did mention the fact that for the most part, maybe I expressed this more than you, but for the most part, I was okay seeing movies in my home theater and at home, but there are occasionally the movies that are a spectacle that you really need to see on a several story screen
I
with Dolby
agree.
surround sound and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I think this might be one of those. So
It seems like it will be, but it also kind of seems like an intimate story too. So
yes,
I don't know. I love the gritty realism. I know people don't always like that, and it works with something like Batman, which of course is one of the main criticisms of Snyder's take on Superman. Is that it was
sure,
also
yeah,
he tried to put the same kind of gritty realism with Superman, and that's not the kind of character that Superman is. Now you can agree with that or not. That's neither here nor there, or Snyder here nor there. Sorry,
I
but
agree with him, but whatever.
you agree with
Anyway.
Snyder. You can do that.
I so, and I think we may have talked about this way back in the
In the day.
in the day
In the before
um,
time.
but I really liked Man of Steel. I liked Batman versus Superman. I think we reviewed that heavily. I don't even know what we said at the time, but I liked both those movies. And actually hearing a little bit more out of Fandom and some interviews with Snyder and Warner Brothers people, the intent was to start Superman and Batman and present them in kind of a dark place and a kind of a gritty place. And as things progressed, and they had to fight Darkseid and this threat from the other world, and apocalypse and all that kind of stuff, they would become the heroes that we recognized. And that's
Right.
what seems to be alluded to in especially the trailer for Snyder's cut of Justice League, that once they had these other heroes around them and had this monumental threat, they became the heroes and kind of the lighter characters that we all know and love. And apparently he had like a 5-film plan that started with Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, Justice League, and then continued on a couple other films. And I kind of am disappointed we're not going to get to see that, and I agree with that. I mean, I think we discussed the whole Superman killing thing, and it's, I don't know. I really like Man of Steel, and
well, he only killed like one person, right?
So, yes, and
Batman
there's a good argument for
to kill
it.
more than one person. So
yeah, and I liked Batman versus Superman. I liked Affleck's portrayal. Wow, that was a Freudian slip. Portrayal of Batman. And I would like to see him continue in that. And it sounds like we are actually going to get to see him continue.
Yeah, apparently you're going to get him in something, and then you're also going to get Michael Keaton apparently as Batman in the Flash movie too, which I don't know if that's true or confirmed 100%, but that would be awesome. Because that's got to be some, maybe they're working their way to a live action Flashpoint or something. Who knows?
Funny you mention that, because that is so at Fandom when they showed the Flash panel, I guess if you want to call it that, there was a logo for Flashpoint came up, and that's essentially so. Here's what I think is interesting, and this was kind of hinted at in the CW superhero show crossover Crisis on Infinite Earths when what's his name from the movies showed up as Flash briefly on the TV show. Is apparently that's what the whole point of the Flash movie is going to be, is to really explore and introduce the multiverse.
Right.
Affleck's playing Batman in it. Michael Keaton's playing Batman in it. And from what I understand too, Affleck's Batman is going to be kind of a mentor to Barry Allen, the Flash, in the Flash movie. But kind of their intention is to say, listen, we have these same characters on the TV, on movies, and they've been played by different actors, and we have all these previous movies where they've been played by different actors, but it all exists. It all happened. It all matters because we have a multiverse to play with.
Well, didn't they kind of? That's basically the whole premise of Flashpoint, or the crossover Crisis on Infinite Earths thing. There was infinite Earths. So on one of the Earths, Ben Affleck is Batman, right? And one of them is Michael Keaton. One of them is who knows?
Well, they even addressed the Michael Keaton Batman movies with a scene with. Now I'm forgetting names. With what's his name, who played the investigative reporter that was kind of a schmuck. Robert Wool. They had a scene with him.
Yeah. I just watched that crossover like 2 weeks ago. So.
Yeah, it was being a fan of the comic book miniseries or maxi series that came out back in the 80s when it first came out.
Yeah.
Seeing that done, obviously it was done differently, but seeing that whole storyline done on the screen with all of the characters and actors that they included was just, it was amazing to me.
It was really fun, and it was kind of Oliver Queen centric. But then Arrow was sort of the linchpin or the anchor point of all the CW superhero shows, with good reason. It was a good show. I mean, I'm not sure about how it ended exactly. It was okay, but we should kind of try to circle back to Fandom some more, because there's other things at Fandom that were interesting. Especially, we talked about Snyder a bit, and I'm sure we'll talk about that again in the future. I'm looking forward to seeing what his vision is for the 4-hour Justice League movie.
Well, it's a 4-hour miniseries now. It's going to be
4-hour miniseries,
4 episodes.
whatever you want to call it. But you know what? I guess what it comes down to is, even at this age and at this time, and I've seen so many movies and TV shows and everything, I still enjoy watching like superhero stuff and fantasy stuff and whatever, and I don't get tired of it. I mean, I like some things to a lesser or greater degree. I hardly ever hate anything, and a lot of times I'm surprised about, that wasn't so bad. But I think it's part of what you just said too. I think maybe when you watch something at home, at least for me, my expectations are a little bit lower, if that makes sense. Or I'm more forgiving than if I had to get dressed and get in the car and drive to a theater. I kind of want the experience to be more, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just subconscious, but anyway, I don't know if that's really a thing or I just made it up right now. Either way, no one really knows.
It works.
Sounds good. So
I'll tell you right now, what I did like about the trailer for the Snyder Cut was everything in it was there. Nothing in it was from the theatrical release of the movie. It was Snyder shot stuff, and just even the tone and the look of it is just completely different.
And a different aspect ratio.
Yes, exactly. Now, I know everybody's grumbling about, Hallelujah being used as music. I'll say this. It's kind of like, hey, Hallelujah, we're getting to see the Snyder Cut. But above and beyond that, from what I understand, that music or that song in particular has a very personal significance to Zack Snyder. So I don't know if it's related to his child's death, which unfortunately took him off of the movie. But as we were talking before the podcast, it's like everybody hated Snyder because he was ruining DC Comics, and then everyone was like, Snyder's the best because we didn't get to see his version of Justice League, and we want to see that more than anything. And now we're back to hating him, quote unquote, because of him using Hallelujah in the trailer. So I'm like, guy can't catch a break, I guess. But
there's always going to be people who hate things and people who like things, and it's just you can't please everybody. And I don't think he tries to. I think he tries to please himself, and then if anybody else wants to come along, that's fine. And again, it's interesting, and you might have mentioned this last week or on the last show. If we're going to get this, if it wasn't for being, quarantined and for COVID, maybe we wouldn't have gotten this. I mean, I know HBO Max needs content, but maybe they wouldn't have been as willing to shell out money to complete this thing. I mean, I don't think they're shooting anything. I'm pretty sure that they're not, but they definitely had to do a lot of post-production, I'm sure. So
yeah, they have to do that. You know what? I have a feeling that because Warner and HBO or whoever owns which side of it, but whoever has the rights to it or owns the print, I'm sure it loves money. So I'm sure at some point in some form we would have seen at least a bulk of the Snyder Cut, if not like a loose one with unfinished special effects and stuff like that. I'm absolutely certain we would have gotten it at some point.
You're probably right.
But I think what the gift, if you want to say, or the silver lining of what's going on in the world is, they decided, well, let's not only give it to fans and get people to watch our streaming service, but let's do it right. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we would have gotten a completed version at some point, but
I think we did get the completed version, and then we got the Joss Whedon version. But
right, well,
now
we did.
Now we've got both versions, and it's a multiverse, so both versions can be canon.
Absolutely, they both can exist.
They can both exist, and everyone can be happy because that's how you solve all problems. It's a multiverse.
Yes. Now, speaking of a kind of brighter, sunnier, happier trailer, Wonder Woman 1984.
1984.
I thought that was. I've liked all the trailers I've seen for that so far. I'm looking forward to that. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be fine. I know there's people, again, because people like to grumble that they have problems with Chris Pine. I don't. I've seen him in quite a few things, independent movies as well as big blockbusters, and I think he's a fine actor, and I enjoy seeing him on the screen, so I'm excited by that.
How do you think he came back, though? I mean, he died, right?
Well, they kind of alluded to that in the new trailer, that the bad guy is giving people what they want, or keep giving people what they desire the most. So I don't know if it's he got wished back, and there will be some tragic twist to it towards the end, or if he's really and truly back. So you know what? I bet we'll be able to find out, though.
Next year.
Yes.
What did you think of Cheetah?
I wasn't that enamored with it at first with the final look, but two things. That was only a few quick flashes, and maybe like Sonic, they're not quite finished with the work on the character yet. So again, I'm one of those that I will take the positive and kind of wow factor things out of a trailer and go, yeah, cool. And anything else I kind of ignore because it's a trailer. It's not, there's context missing. There is many times, some of the things we see aren't completely finished in post-production, or maybe they've given it a second look and they want to change it. So I'll say I wasn't thrilled by the finished look of Cheetah initially, but we'll see. I'll see how it plays out.
I guess my problem is I'm not sure. I don't know enough about the character or about her battles with Wonder Woman to know whether it's a fitting villain, because it seems like there's more than one villain. So
yes,
it seems like that one guy, like you said, the guy who's granting wishes is maybe the main bad guy, and then Cheetah is sort of a supplemental bad. girl.
Well,
I guess.
so the was it
I don't know the story.
Pedro Pascal is the actor.
Yes, yes.
The character is supposed to be Maxwell Lord.
The Mandalorian too. Sorry.
Yes, who in the comics is actually a Justice League villain. So I mean, obviously, it still can be a villain for Wonder Woman, but he's never been. Well, I'll say that there is a interesting fatal confrontation between the two during a major crossover in DC Comics. I suppose it's been 10 years, and it's not really a spoiler, but they have a very interesting relationship. So it was kind of surprising to see him as a main villain in a Wonder Woman movie. Cheetah has always, I think, even back to the 1940s, been a main villain for Wonder Woman. So, but I'm intrigued. I'm interested. I think it'll be a good movie. I'm sort of on the fence about the constant. If it's a movie that takes place in the 1980s and then you also make fun of 80s fashion and music and stuff, I'm like, well, that seems weird to me because.
Well, Steve is making fun of 80s. Like,
I guess that's
bands?
true.
Do people, everyone parachute? No, that's funny. I mean, Chris Pine is good at that. He's good for a joke.
That's true. And I guess, if he has, been suddenly brought back to life, that would make sense. But still, I'm kind of like, okay. But, I think it'll be fun.
It will be fun. I have no problem. I mean, again, if you accept the idea that it's a Wonder Woman movie and so she's a superhero, then a guy coming back from the dead is not that hard to believe. And
right, exactly.
And a guy who can, manipulate things to bring him back to life is not that hard to believe. And then a woman who's like a cheetah is not that hard to believe. So you either have to buy the premise, right, and just go into it and go for it and enjoy it, or be skeptical. So, but yeah, you're probably right. Some of those shots were, I would bet, either if not finished or at least finished, but not finished to the final form because they were probably trying to get it ready for fandom because everything was shut down. Yes. And they're like, oh, by the way, we're doing this thing, and you got to get all this stuff ready now. So people had to go back to work and finish it. I mean, I don't know if that's a story or not, but I mean, it sounds plausible. So I'm just gonna say that's what happened. But yeah, I bet we'll see some more. People were complaining too. I guess they were hoping that Kristen Wiig would get more different kind of roles and stuff, and then she would get to do. I don't know if the word important things is what I'm talking about, but I saw some criticism of like, oh, we wait so long for a Kristen Wiig movie and this is what we get. It's like, come on, man, she's got to work too.
Well, so. I don't know. I think this is kind of different for her. I mean, it kind of veers away from her comedic roots and gives her more, I think, a meteor role. I mean, she did a fine job in The Martian, and that was kind of a different role for her. So I think this is fine.
She had a great line. So what? He's the Fonz now? That was a great line. So,
right, exactly.
I love that movie. I always watch that. It's strangely enough, it's a comfort movie because it's about isolation.
Yeah.
And the guy survives isolation, and so it's a feel-good story for our times.
I watched that movie multiple times, and I don't get tired of watching.
I even got the audiobook that Will Wheaton did. It was quite good too. So anyway,
I haven't. I got that as one of my free downloads from Audible, and I have not listened to it yet. And I feel bad for not doing that because
it's an Audible exclusive. Audible is not a sponsor of the Flickcast, but if they'd like to be,
it is not. Yeah, if they'd like to be, please get in touch with us. Yes. But I will say that on a tangent here, that any audiobook narrated by or read by Will Wheaton is worth the time because I've listened to many audiobooks read by actors and unknowns and things like that, and he just does above and beyond reading books.
Well, he brings his life. He's got some acting chops too that help.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, and
the Martian book was really good. I
definitely want to listen to it. So
even though I read the book and obviously I've seen the movie many times, it still brought things out that I never really considered before because of the performance too. It was really engaging. He's quite excellent at the reading, and so if you haven't listened to it, it's definitely worth it. And even if you have watched the movie, because there's a lot more in the book as you might expect, and it's different. There's different things in the book that happen.
Yeah.
That happen
I read the book. Yeah, so.
I mean, for the other people, not you.
Sure.
I know you did, but
I'm just trying to show my street cred by saying no. I read the book.
Sure.
I read the book before the movie. So.
I was into The Martian before anybody.
Right. I was into The Martian when it was a book only released in Nova Scotia, and only 3 people knew about it.
There you go.
So
Exactly. So yeah, I'm also looking forward to Wonder Woman, and I'm also looking forward to I guess really maybe I'm just looking forward to going to the movies again and just having
yeah,
more of a normal, quote unquote, normal life. Not that my life was that normal in the first place, I guess, but certainly more than it is now. I just like to go see stuff, and seeing these trailers was great, and even if they weren't exactly maybe necessarily exactly what I was hoping for or looking for, I was still happy to see them, and the movies were definitely cool, and I will definitely want to go. Among them also was any kind of snippets of Suicide Squad, James Gunn's Suicide
oh
Squad,
yes,
which of course is going to be amazing. I mean, the guy, the whole
yeah,
thing about him and so disappointing. All that bullshit about him on Twitter and everything. It's just so dumb. But
yeah. I
cancel James Gunn. No, it's just
no, I
people.
totally agree with you. I mean, it was unfortunate. I'm glad that Marvel got smart and reversed the decision. Although in the same token, I'm glad that they did fire him for a while, because if they hadn't, then we wouldn't be getting this new Suicide Squad from him. And like you said, man, that trailer just looks outstanding. And we got very little actually from the movie. A lot of it was character introduction.
Yeah,
But
and a lot of cool behind the scenes stuff too.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I think it's just going to be it's going to be absurdly fun, and sometimes those are the best kind of movies. I mean, I love both of the Guardians movies. I liked Super. I liked many of the other things he's done, but yeah,
what was that monster movie that he did? Slither with
Slither. Yes,
Yeah, that was good too.
yeah.
So yeah, he's got a certain sensibility like Taika Waititi. They're like out
Yes.
there, and I will watch anything that they do, and I'm sure enjoy it. No, let me be clear about something though. If anyone did do something bad with children or anything like that, or was abusive to other people or whatever, I'm totally against that, obviously.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely.
it seemed like it was sort of I don't want to say made up, but it seemed like it was like some sort of politically motivated attack against him. I mean, I don't know. I don't even remember the details. That seems so long ago now.
It
But
does. It was a whole another world.
it was a whole other
away
world
from where we
ago.
are now.
Yeah. So I think you're right though. If that hadn't happened, I guess we wouldn't have gotten him with Suicide Squad, because he would have gone right into Guardians 3, and then who knows what would happen to that right now. It'd probably be sitting on the shelf waiting to come out like Black Widow is.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
So yeah,
So
sometimes things work out, I guess, and I'm sure he was not happy about it for a while, but it seems like he's going to come out on top. So
it was kind of the best of both worlds, because he gets to make Suicide Squad, which looks, and I'm confident will be amazing, and he still gets to complete his Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy.
yeah, and he gets Idris Elba. Come on,
I know, right? And Peter
not
Capaldi from Doctor Who.
that's right. Not playing Deadshot though, playing someone else.
Yes, yeah. I'm intrigued by the characters they are bringing back from the first movie. I mean, I think Harley's kind of at this point kind of needs to be a mainstay, but
Yeah, definitely. And thank God they brought back Digger Harkness. I'm just saying, Captain Boomerang
yes.
lives, man. Come on.
Oh, he was great in the first one. So
Yeah, I don't think Jay Courtney gets enough love. I'm sorry, but
no, I don't think he does either. And it's it's to his credit, all the things I've seen him in. Hearing him actually use his native Australian accent was jarring to me. I'm like, that sounds like a really terrible accent. I was like, oh, he is Australian. Okay,
well,
sorry.
he was making it up, I'm sure. Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I feel sort of the same way about watching Carl Urban in The Boys.
Right.
He's got such a weird accent, and I don't know
Yes.
if that's his real accent or not, but it's an odd sort of particular one. By the way, I'm excited for season 2 of The Boys. That's coming out pretty soon. That's
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
be
not a
cool.
fan of the boys, but
Really?
yeah, I have a long rant about that. So,
Oh, you can rant about it. Go ahead. We got time.
all right. So my problem with the boys, and granted, I haven't watched the TV series. This is all stemming from the comic books.
Oh, you got to watch the show, man.
This all goes back to my whole problem with Garth Ennis as a writer, because all he does is so. As an example, when I can't remember if it was the Pro or it was some comic series he had coming out, a buddy of mine was like, "Man, I can't wait for the new Garth Ennis series." I was like, "Oh, really? What's it about?" And he's like, "Well, it's going to be the most." He's saying it's the most depraved thing he's ever done. I'm like, cool. So what's the story about? Oh, it's just going to be sick and gross and gory and over the top and depraved. And I'm like, so what's the story about? And he's like, oh, it doesn't really matter. I'm like, so there's my problem with Garth Ennis. Nobody cares about the story. I don't even think he does anymore. He just likes to do things that are, push the boundaries and are depraved and sick. And the comic book series was just...
Well, fortunately, he doesn't have that much to do with the TV show, which is why the TV show is
okay.
excellent. Yeah, I would agree with you in some extent, because I do think some of it is, is just sometimes he does things for the sake of doing them. But the show is great. And there are well-developed characters, and there is a compelling story. I mean, there are some really interesting things that are going on. Yeah, there's a lot of gross stuff too. But, a lot of guys get blown up, and one of the main bad guys laser eyes a lot of people, which is funny. But it's funny, and it's everyone in the show is really good, especially the main bad guy. I mean, it's all really well done. I recommend you watch it.
Well, so here's what I'll say about that is I'll give it a chance because I absolutely refuse to watch Deadpool because I hated the character and the way the character was used in the comics. Wow. But I changed my mind, at least for the films, after watching the first Deadpool movie, and I enjoyed the second one too. So maybe they got some people that actually know story and actually want to flesh it out and tone down some of the stuff that is gratuitous and make a decent TV show out of it. So maybe I'll give it a shot.
There's definitely some stuff that's gratuitous, but it's all tied into the story, though. Speaking of Deadpool, by the way, I don't know that anyone else could have played that part except Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
I mean, it's like amazing. Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. There's no one that I can even envision ever playing that part again. In fact, just close up shop, Marvel. You're never going to do any more Avengers things with Tony Stark. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. No, if they wanted to, if they were like, well, we want to continue Deadpool, but we want a fresh start from Sony, so we're recasting it, I would probably not watch it because it wouldn't be worth it.
No, and also knowing that his personal struggle to get it made was something too. It's just he is perfect for that part. It is Ryan Reynolds, it is Deadpool. They are one and the same, except for the superpowers and regeneration and all that junk. But it's like, you can't almost separate them, and you can't separate Robert Downey Jr. from Tony Stark. Not that Robert Downey Jr. is a raging alcoholic, not anymore, I guess.
Right.
But he was just so perfect from the moment. I know I've said this before. From the moment I saw the trailer or some footage at New York Comic Con so many years ago now, I went, holy shit, that is perfect.
It's like dead on casting.
Yeah, he was perfect.
And it's funny you say that because I think I mentioned in the last time we talked that I've been rewatching Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, and that is absolutely with the physical comedy Ryan Reynolds does, as well as almost looking at the camera and winking, and the one-liners he has. It's kind of watching a proto Deadpool. It's so weird. So I'm like, I can see why people thought he'd be perfect for the role. So.
Well, he thought he'd be perfect. I mean, he's the one who tried to get it made for so long, I'm sure.
True.
I mean, I know he did. What's funny is you can think of a show where it'd be like a guy and a girl and Deadpool and a pizza place, and that could be, an interesting show, except...
He wouldn't be out of place in the show, honestly. It would work.
So I'd watch that show. I mean...
Yeah.
I enjoyed Deadpool. I enjoyed Deadpool 2.
Yes. I even like the PG-13 Once Upon a Time in Deadpool, whatever they call it.
I do enjoy some profanity, so,
But I did love the whole, framing sequence of kidnapping, what's his name, and playing out Princess Bride.
Yes.
That was pretty amazing and outstanding.
And clever stuff.
Yeah. Yes. So clearly it's a role that Ryan Reynolds loves and relishes, and I think at this point Marvel is smart enough that they're not going to recast Deadpool, and they'll figure out a way to utilize the character, whether it's more standalone movies or in some kind of X-Men universe films.
Well, they got to bring the X-Men
they're not
in
stupid.
At some point.
Yeah, they got to bring them in. But I don't think they're... I mean, I guarantee you that if they thought they could keep him, they would probably have Hugh Jackman continue to play Wolverine. Because another person who seems like odd casting on the outset, but, imbibed the role. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Took on the role and, lived it. So...
Well, it's funny you say that, because when I saw the first X-Men movie, I didn't really. Hugh Jackman wasn't a big name then, right? I mean,
Sure.
he was
Yeah.
a successful actor in some ways, I guess. I don't really know, but I bought him as Wolverine almost from day one, and then you're right. It's all the way to Logan. It's hard to envision anyone playing that part. But you know what's funny? I could see other. I mean, other people could do it. I just have a harder
Sure.
time thinking who else would be Tony Stark. I don't know why those two things are different, but
No, I don't think you could recast Tony Stark. I mean, I think if Marvel wanted at some point to have Tony Stark, I mean, they too have introduced the idea at least of the multiverse, even though that ended up being a fake out. But they could absolutely do a multiversal story. I mean, Doctor Strange
you think it was a fake
sequel
out?
is. No, I don't think it was a fake out. Well, I mean, Mysterio and Spider-Man, he wasn't actually from an alternate universe. Spoilers,
but I mean,
but I think they introduced that then because like Doctor Strange's sequel is, Doctor Strange in the Madness of the Multiverse. So obviously they intend it to be something.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And where did Cap go?
Right.
Did Cap
supposedly that created an alternate universe.
Well, did he go live his life and not become Captain America and let all kinds of bad shit happen because he didn't want to leave Peggy? I mean, there has to be.
But there was already a Captain America,
maybe in that world, in that universe, there was. You're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, who would it be? Would it be? Oh, maybe it was
because he didn't go back in time and replace his younger self. He went back in time as himself, and then aged from there. So if he went back in time. Maybe there was already, someone else being Captain America, or he knew eventually he'd be taken out of the ice, his other self, and there would be a Captain America. So maybe he covertly, as a, black hooded agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., went around doing minor things here and there and not.
You bring up an interesting point. Do you think when he went back in time into a different timeline or whatever, do you think that there were two Steve Rogers then?
Yeah, at some point there was one in the ice, and there was him.
So there's already a Steve Rogers being Captain America, so he didn't have to.
Yes, I mean obviously there was a period of time between the end of the war and when he was brought out of the ice in the present, where there wasn't a Captain America, and I don't think he would have taken up being Captain. Or maybe they wanted to. They could have easily said, no, Captain America's still alive. Look, but I think more likely he would have been some kind of covert agent with Peggy, and did his part in small ways as opposed to fighting the big battles, because maybe he was like, well, that would be changing the timeline too much, and those things are meant to happen anyway, but here's little things we could do to make things better.
The way I interpreted it when I watched the movie was that he decided to go get that life he was looking for and just went and lived with Peggy, instead of becoming a hero at all.
Well, yeah, and he could have done that too.
But the question is, if there's two Steve Rogers, then wouldn't Peggy have run into the other one at some point?
I would imagine he would explain it to her when he showed up on her doorstep after supposedly being frozen in ice or disappeared. Be like, hey, by the way,
if you meet me again, it's not me, it's my other me.
Yeah, you're going to see me again at some point in the year 2000 or whatever, 2008 or whatever, but that's another me, and this is me, but I'm that other guy coming back in time. I'm sure he would have explained to her. He wouldn't just shown up and said, hey, surprise, I'm unfrozen, because
I'm ready for that dance.
Yeah. So yeah.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. Which of course is different than what the director said, and it's also different than what the writer said. So they can't seem to get their story straight. But you know what? They don't have to explain it. So who cares?
But it's all it's a multiverse.
It's a movie. It's a multiverse. Yes, exactly.
Actually, I tell you, the explanation that will be true will be whatever one they decide to tell us if they need to at some point for a story. So whatever the script says is the real version. So
I agree.
Yes,
I agree.
Yes,
you're correct, sir. So
we kind of went off on a tangent there, didn't we? Wow.
We did go off on a tangent, but you know what? That's okay. Sometimes
it's our show. We can do that.
Yeah, we can go on a tangent. We can do what we want. Was there anything else from Fandom that we want to touch on?
I mean, I don't know. There was like a lot of little things about the TV shows. Like, I'm glad that they're hard at work on season 3 of Titans. I've really enjoyed that show. Yeah. Obviously, I guess the big thing for fans of the DC Universe streaming service TV shows, all of those shows are going over to HBO Max.
That's neat.
Which I hope also includes Doom Patrol in a new season, because I loved the first 2 seasons of that show. And then Stargirl is going to CW instead of HBO Max, which is kind of fitting because that's the tone of that show is more kind of CW. I love that show though. I'm a big fan of the Justice Society from the World War II, and those characters and kind of the legacy characters that have taken up the mantle of those heroes. So Stargirl has been a fun show to watch. I really like it, and it's a if you need a bright, happy show in a time of darkness, that's certainly a show to watch.
That's a nice thing to say.
Yeah, it's pretty uplifting. It's kind of a bright spark and a lot of fun. And I kind of have a soft spot for it because the character is based off of Jeff John's kid sister, who was killed in a plane crash or plane bombing quite a few years ago. So
Jesus, man, way to bring the room down.
I know, but it was his dedication to his sister, and I think he's done her proud and done well. Yeah, it's a lot, a little bit more involved in that, but no, it's a great character. It's a great show. Another show that has some actors in it that do well, so it's worth watching if you haven't seen it.
I started it and I don't know what happened. I got distracted by something and didn't go back to it. But I'll try to do it. I think that that happened. That's happened a few times while I was trying to watch something. I'll start a show and then I'll be like,
there's a lot of things to watch on TV right now.
There are a lot of things to watch. There's going to be more things. Mulan's coming out on Disney Plus, like we talked about last time. I wonder if we'll see Black Widow come out on streaming and what else will stream. Or will they try to start sending things back to the theaters? I don't know.
We'll see.
I think if Mulan does well, I feel like maybe they'll just say, "Oh, you know what? We can put out a few more things." I hope they do because I'd really like to see Black Widow. I don't know.
I think a lot is riding on the Mulan.
Yeah,
I'm going to call it an experiment. I mean, if it does extremely well, then that's probably going to be at least partially the new model for big features. If it doesn't do well, then it'll be like, at least they tried, or maybe they'll try again at a different price point, or figure out other things they can add. But I think it is definitely to me, I get a sense of testing the waters to see how viable it is. So
that's possible. I mean, I'm sure that's what it is, which is why they're using that movie instead of. I mean, no offense to Mulan, but they're not going to necessarily do an experiment with a big Marvel movie. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, no. They're
not going to release Black Widow or something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to see what happens, and I want to see I want to see all the Marvel universe continue, and I want to see all the TV shows, Captain America: Winter Soldier, or not Captain America: Winter Soldier, but Black Widow.
Falcon and the Snowman, or Falcon and the Snowman. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Wow,
that was hard to get out. I'm sorry we even mentioned that.
I know.
It sounds stupid.
I'd watch Falcon and the Snowman, though.
I would. It's a good movie.
Here's the thing. Here's my opinion about this, though. I think all of this debate and all of these experiments and things that are going on with the streaming services are things that were going to happen eventually. And this has just kind of moved up the time frame because we have more and more people like myself too, that want to be able to watch what they want when they want on the device they want. And I think even nothing against quote unquote millennials, but that's kind of that generation and the generation next after that are going to be totally brought up with you have a device in your hand at all times where you can watch anything you want to. And you could call it, maybe they don't have appreciation of theaters and things like that, but they're not going to be the people that are going to want to spend $50 to go with their family or their friends to a movie once and see it in a theater with a bunch of people that are talking and get popcorn that's maybe burnt or whatever. And nothing against theaters, but it's just, I like I said, I foresee that this was something that was going to have to happen, or at least be discussed heavily eventually, and the timetable's just been moved up on it. So,
well, they don't really have any choice at this point. They got to do something. So they can't let all these movies sit on the shelf forever. So I mean, some money is better than none, and obviously they can make a big tax write-off if they have to. But they spend a lot of money on something like Mulan, and they spend a lot of money advertising it and whatever. And so
they want to get it back.
Time to get it out. And
And I
you know
know
what? I
too.
think people are. I think people are looking for entertainment. So
Oh yeah,
I bet a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
people will watch it. So you're right, though. I think
And
it had to happen, and maybe it came along quicker than they expected. So, but that's okay.
and kind of like the same thing with everyone going, oh, there's too many streaming services. I mean, first of all, you don't have to subscribe to all of them, and pretty much most of them have a month to month thing, so you can subscribe to two or three a month in 1 month, watch everything you want to, cancel those, and move on to the next ones, or you keep the ones you want. But I understand, people are getting kind of like, it's hard to keep track of all the streaming services, and I think again, it's another thing that needs to happen is everybody needs to try it, and much like maybe cable TV had at one point, there's going to be an implosion. There can't not be, but already we're seeing like DC Universe streaming service is probably going away. But as people buy people, or as some savvy person comes along and figures out a way where you can subscribe to a service, and you can basically say, I want to watch Watchmen, and it will charge you maybe like an a la carte thing where you get to pick the shows you want to watch from the streaming services instead of
That's
having
what I
to
thought it was
subscribe
supposed to be. There's supposed to be one thing,
Yeah,
and you just log into it, and you just ask
we'll get
for,
there.
I want to see this, and then you just pay for that. I think that's
I think we'll get. I think that's what is going to happen eventually, and there may be a lot of pain between now and then, and a lot more services, but there'll be a plateau and a breaking point at some point, and people are going to be like, well, this is ridiculous, and it will happen, but it'll be a while. But yeah, I think we'll get there.
well. I mean, I guess it's nice. There's a lot of streaming services right now because there's a lot of variety of
Yeah,
things to watch
exactly.
and enjoy, and of course, I find myself going back to watch old stuff a lot too. So,
Yeah.
although buy physical media, right? Because
Yes,
a lot of
absolutely.
things. Who knows if you're going to have all these movies? Like I have a shit ton of movies that I bought on Apple, on iTunes, or what do you want to call it now. And if Apple goes belly up, although they're not going to, but if they did, all those movies would be gone. And so I
Yep.
guess I could try downloading all of them, but that seems like a lot of storage. So
Yeah.
maybe you shouldn't get rid of all your DVDs just yet, or all your Blu-rays just yet. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, when we moved during the thing we will not mention anymore,
yeah.
I did downsize my DVD collection considerably, mostly because there were things that I wanted to replace with Blu-rays, or had replaced with Blu-rays, because I'm ever the one. It's funny because I downplayed. You're concerned about high-end audio, but I'm the one that's like wants the highest-end video, so I'm a weirdo. But
Well, I don't necessarily have to have high-end audio. I just want to have as good audio as I can have.
clear audio. Yeah, good audio.
Clear
Yeah.
audio, exactly.
Yes.
I mean, we are doing a show that involves audio, so what the hell, right?
But I'm like one. I was miffed that I think it was Google Play Music wouldn't allow me to upload FLAC files and preserve that quality. So
you understand what I'm saying?
I do. And the same thing with video. It's like if it's available in 4K, I would rather have that as opposed to a DVD, because even on my even as well as my 4K TV up converts DVDs, it still doesn't look the same as having true 4K.
Well, now you're gonna need 8K, dude.
So, I know.
It's
never
twice
going to
as
end.
good, right?
Yes. So yeah.
So that's
Anyway.
good. That's good for now, I think. The question I have at the end of this episode is the one I had last time: is are we going to go back to picking things, or are we just going to end? Because you can tell me. Oh, the one thing I want to say is we will have a guest next week.
Oh
And
yes, that's right.
It should be interesting, and I won't tease it any more than that. But we're going to start having guests, like we said, maybe not every week, but frequently.
So that thing we said for like 3 years, we're actually going to do now.
It's happening, baby, and we're
Yeah,
also
it's
gonna
all happening.
and we're also gonna launch the Patreon. Not yet, but pretty soon. So if you're, if you got a couple extra bucks, that'll be cool.
Yeah, we want to
don't
make
worry
sure
about it.
we have the quality content to provide.
Joe needs
patrons,
microphones, so help him out.
Yeah, you can probably hear I need a better microphone. So
He does need a better microphone. Definitely.
We'll podcast for a microphone. Wait, how does that? I don't think that works.
Exactly. And the Patreon's coming. We're gonna have a guest starting next week. Not starting next week, but we'll have a guest next time. And it should be interesting. One of our old friends is going to stop by, and then
Yes.
we'll have more of those coming up, and also a lot of other things. Hopefully that'll be happening with the show. We're We're trying to make it cool and trying to
Yeah.
update it and make it interesting and have fun and all that other stuff.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
are we going to pick something or are we going to not bother?
We can pick, and I'll start. I'm going to pick something that I haven't actually put together yet.
Is
But
it Marillion?
no, it's not Marillion. I'll pick that next week.
Mm.
I just, in fact, just today before we started recording the show, I went and picked up the Lego set for the International Space Station.
Oh, neat.
And I've been wanting to get that for a while, and it just looks, at least from the pictures, it looks fantastic. But I can tell you, if it is even half as much, or even a quarter of as much fun as putting together the Lego Saturn V, this will be a set well worth it. So, my pick is a set. Like I said, I haven't put together yet, but I'm highly anticipating doing so. So I'm in my 50s and I'm still a Lego fan. What can I say?
Me too. Well, the other secret to that is have a kid that's like 7. So
Yeah,
that's why I'm still a fan
absolutely.
of Lego. Although I can't get really nice Lego sets. I mean, he'll build them and we'll build them together, and that's the fun part. And we'll play with them for a while, or he'll play with them for a while, and then they just get broken.
Well, so here's the
Shit
thing,
just
though.
gets spread everywhere, and
I get that.
That's $100 Lego, and it's like, why the hell did I buy that? It's stupid.
Well, this is why I'm glad that Lego's doing the Ideas set and some of the other sets like the International Space Station, Saturn V, and some of like the specialized sets, because neither one of my kids want me to. It used to be we'd go buy Legos, and especially things they wanted, and I would have to put them together for them. Well, they don't want to do that anymore. They want to do it, right? So they're at the level where they can do it. So I still want to build Legos though. So now I can get my own sets. So there you go.
Well, that's what I have in my office. I have a couple of shelves that have Lego, like one shelf. I don't want to be crazy about it. Legos that I want to keep, like my AT-ATs and stuff like that. They're just up on a high shelf. So, I mean, he can reach them now, unfortunately. He's getting tall, too, which is...
Oh, there you go.
They just keep growing. But what are you going to do? All right, well, that sounds great. I love Lego, and I think that's a great pick. And I did see that in the catalog or something recently, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I know you had the Saturn V. I never did end up getting that, even though I wanted to, but that's okay.
Oh, it's a beautiful set. Really is.
Yeah, I think my favorite right now is the Millennium Falcon that we have, which is pretty cool.
Did you get the large?
No, not the large, not the $500
okay.
one, because I'm not made of money. And but we did get the nice one, or the medium one, and that's pretty cool. I've managed to keep it mostly together still. Mostly, not really.
Cool.
It's kind of in pieces. I'll be honest. Most of them, most of them are destroyed.
Check back with me on the Millennium Falcon, because I'm about to get into another hobby that might prove expensive, but will be just as satisfying as Legos, and that's 3D printing. So,
oh my goodness,
I've already spotted some patterns for not full size, but
full size.
Really,
that would be
really
cool.
big size Millennium Falcons and the Galactica and stuff like that. So it'll be a Christmas gift. So stay tuned. I'll have more to say about that later. But
awesome, yeah, Christmas is coming up. Start shopping
yeah.
early.
Yeah. What's your pick?
My pick is a TV show. It's on HBO Max, whatever you want to call it. It's called Lovecraft Country.
Oh, I am banking that. I haven't watched it yet.
So good, so good. It's only been 2 episodes so far, and it's just it's so well done and so compelling, and everybody in it is excellent. And it's just, I mean, unfortunately, it's kind of relevant, especially for today. It takes place. I don't know if you're familiar with the story, but briefly,
Yes.
It takes place in the 50s. A guy comes home looking for his father, and his father's disappeared. So he goes off on a road trip with his uncle and a girl, and they're African American people in the 50s, and they deal with a lot of shit, as you can imagine.
Yes.
But it's also an H.P. Lovecraft spin, so they deal with other kinds of shit too.
Yes.
As you can imagine. So it's super cool. It's everything that you could expect from a sort of Lovecraftian kind of story, and
Nice.
and more. It's social commentary. It's poignant. It's well produced. Very good acting, direction. Everything is top notch. It's it's what you expect from an HBO show, because they do a pretty good job. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But it's super excellent, and it's definitely worth it. I haven't read the book. I have the book, it turns out, but I never, for some reason, it's on my shelf of things to read, and I never got around to it. And now I kind of don't want to, because I want to see the show, and then I'll go back and read the book. But it's so good. Anyway, Lovecraft Country on HBO Max. It's definitely worth it. The only thing I don't like, and I know I'm spoiled now, is that I hate waiting a week per episode.
Right, and that's kind of what I was going to say about there's certain shows that are still weekly that I'm like, no, I got to watch that every week. But then there's some I'm like, I would rather wait till the end of the season and then just binge the whole thing, so I didn't have to wait.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I mean,
nice
obviously, then I
HBO.
run into possibly spoilers. But still, I'm like, but this
don't
one,
dive in.
I keep hearing good things about this, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and dive in and just start watching it. So
Yeah, everybody is so good, and it's just it evokes sort of an atmosphere, and you kind of just like you're sucked in after the first 5 minutes, and it's just I don't know. I really liked the last show I watched on HBO Max was the Perry Mason reboot, and I was or whatever you want to call it. I was kind of like skeptical. I'm like Perry Mason, but it turned out to be great too.
yeah,
So
that was
damn.
pretty great.
Yeah, so I should have known that HBO does pretty good job with most things. I mean, they're not responsible for the end of Game of Thrones, so it's not their fault. But,
Right.
But
man, Netflix has ruined it for us.
I don't know that you and I ever got a chance to talk about the end of Game of Thrones.
We did not. No.
Holy crap! We'll have to do that.
Yes.
Or not. It sucks.
I'll have to actually still watch it, but
it was freaking lame.
I haven't seen the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, and there's a long personal story behind that. It's probably going to bore everybody to tears, but
well, we don't have time for that anyway. So.
Yeah. So
luckily, we're out of time.
Yeah, but we're out of time, and we got to go. So
all right. So find the Flickcast on Apple Podcasts, on soon to be on Spotify. I don't know if we're up there yet for some reason. I'll check. I'll look into that. Stitcher, Google Podcasts, at our website, and wherever else you can find podcasts. And like I said, the Patreon's coming, and we have a guest next week, and it should be interesting.
Yeah.
And we're making a podcast, and as Joe said last week, we're fucking back, so it's great.
Yes, and give us feedback and tell us what you want to hear, even if we ignore that and don't do it, but also what you don't want to hear, and we'll ignore that and do what we want anyway. But still, feedback, give it.
They don't want to hear any cursing. That's the problem.
The fuck, really?
I kind of want to swear sometimes, but
yeah,
it's more my personality. I'll be honest, but especially during these strange times. But
the Flickcast, produced by Zack Snyder.
Exactly.
No, we're not produced by Zack Snyder. We're produced by Michael Seidel, and he's awesome.
He is awesome. He's not going to chime in today though, for whatever reason, but he's definitely.
He was phoning it in, so
he is definitely phoning it in. He's in the wings though. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so for Joe Dilworth, I'm Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, everybody.